Hello CLAT aspirants, how are you? What's happening? Good evening. How is everyone doing? Full fun study. What's that name? Good. Full fun study. Yes, full fun study happening. Hi everyone. Any of you gave CLAT 2025? Anyone? How was your experience? How many of you are preparing for CLAT 2026? What's happening? Like just a bit of interaction till the time everyone is joining and then we'll start up. Yes.
माइक ले लो पूछिए बच्चों से आवाज आ रही है
Am I audible, everyone? Am I audible? Just let me know if I'm audible. Tell me. Yes? Fine. Fine. So now, any of you who gave CLAT 2025, how was the experience? I'll tell you why am I asking that question. CLAT 2025. Any of you who gave CLAT 2025? Interact, guys, so that we can have a fun session. Or everyone here is CLAT 2026 aspirant? Tell me. No? Okay. Okay. CLAT 2026. Everyone's aim is CLAT 2026. All right. Fine. Nice. Okay. So now, what's my purpose to come here today? Right. See, what happens is that when you start preparing for your CLAT exam, legal is a section that there is no mediocrity in it, right? In these two, there are only two things. Either it is easy for students, either it is difficult for students. No student tells me that we find it midway, कि ना मुझे आसान लगता है ना मुझे ज़्यादा डिफिकल्ट लगता है, राइट? या तो किसी का लीगल बहुत ही स्ट्रांग होगा जो उसको वो ईजी बोलेगा, या किसी के लिए लीगल बहुत डिफिकल्ट होगा और वो ये बोलेंगे कि हमसे पैसेजेस सॉल्व नहीं होते, राइट? Now this is the scenario when they find legal reasoning easy is when they particularly know how to comprehend the passages, how to understand the concepts, and then how to apply those concepts on the passages, right? That is the thing when you have people who say that the legal reasoning part is easy, right? Yet again, there is a group of people who find legal reasoning difficult, right? Why is a particular person finding a particular section difficult, right? क्योंकि दो ही प्रॉब्लम्स हो सकती हैं इसमें भी, या तो आपको कॉन्सेप्ट ही अच्छे से नहीं समझ में आया है, या आप उस कॉन्सेप्ट को अप्लाई नहीं कर पा रहे हो पैसेजेस पे, राइट? सो These are the two scenarios. And now, for both the categories, we are here today, right? जिनको legal reasoning easy लगता है, उनको, yeah, I'll be speaking in Hindi and English both, guys, so that everyone can have a, we'll talk bilingual, right? I'll speak in English as well, right? So today I'm here for both the category of the students who find legal easy also and who find legal difficult also, right? Why for the easy students, like who find legal easy? So that we can make their legal section more stronger, right? And why for the difficult people who find legal difficult? So that we can make legal easy for them by making it stronger yet again, right? So this is the purpose. Now, what is my idea for the next 4 days is, including today, that just I'm briefing you up for all the 4 sessions that we have planned for you, right? For 4 days, what we are going to do is, for 3 days, that is today, tomorrow and day after tomorrow, I'll be teaching you up with the concepts, right? Today, law of contracts, tomorrow, law of torts, and day after tomorrow, law of crimes, right? And then the last day, that would be 20th of December, we would have a fully application-based class. What would be application-based class? The 3 days concepts that we have studied in these 3 days I'll tell you that how you have to apply those concepts on the passages. So that means it would be a fully practice session. Clear? Everyone, tell me. What we are going to do in these 4 days is clear to everyone, right? That how we are going to proceed further. Right? So today, law of contracts, right? What I have planned for you in law of contracts is a topic which was asked in CLAT 2025, right? And yet again, this topic is something that you need to know when you study law of contracts, because this topic is the most important topic of law of contracts. I am not saying that the rest of the topics in law of contract is not important. I am saying this one is the most important, right? Am I clear to everyone till now? And what is the topic that I have chosen for you today is valid contracts, voidable contracts, and void agreements, right? It is basically a topic on type of contracts. Voidable, valid, void, right? I hope I'm clear till now. Till now, if I'm clear, please do let me know. The process for the next 4 days and what we are going to study today. Is it clear to everyone? So that I can begin with the session. Yes? Fine. So now, my first question to you would be, valid contracts, voidable contracts and void agreements. Valid contracts or voidable contracts mein to I have written the word contract, right? Now, tell me, why didn't I write the word contract over here? Why did I write void agreement? And why didn't I write void contract over here? My first question, the very basic question, tell me this. How many of you know that why did I write the word contract in the form of valid and in the front of voidable? And why did I write agreement and not contract in front of void? Please, if anybody can answer this question. Tell me. Batao? Anybody who could answer this question? Why did I write contract, contract and here agreement? Anybody who answers gets a chocolate from my side. Chalo batao. Contract, contract, agreement. Okay, fine. See. Valid contract, by the term in itself, you can see it is valid, right? Methali is saying because it is void ab initio, because they never become a contract, void from beginning. Okay. Anything else? Anything else? Somewhere you are right, but understand this in this perspective. Valid contract, that means we will, when you know what is contract, contract is something which is enforceable by law. An agreement which is enforceable by law is a contract, right? And if anything is valid, that means it is something which has fulfilled all the conditions of becoming a contract, right? And that is why it is a valid contract, right? Agreement enforceable by law, all the conditions of the enforceability is also fulfilled, right? No, no. Avnish is saying wrong because all agreements are contracts. No. Because contract is made by agreement and it is enforceable by Indian Contract Act. No. Right. See this first. Right. Now, what are voidable contracts? Voidable contracts, understand this. Voidable. That means, एक English का word that you can remember from this word is avoid. Right. In this voidable type of contracts, you have two options. Either you can rescind the contract. That means you can put an end to the contract, right? And apart from that, the another situation is you can rectify the contract and move forward with it, right? And that is why it has a chance of becoming into a contract if the rectification happens, right? That is why it is a voidable contract. Now, why did I write void agreement? As some of you mentioned, it is an agreement because, first of all, understand the meaning of void. Void is something null in nature, zero in nature. Void is something which cannot be enforceable by law. And here only we saw contract is something which has to be enforced by law. When something which cannot be enforced by law cannot be a contract, and if it is not a contract, then it will automatically be an agreement. No, Rajvardhan, your answer was wrong. You cannot get a chocolate. I'm sorry. Methali and Kiranjit can get a chocolate. They were right at some point. Right. So, whatever is not a contract, because it cannot be enforced by law, that is why it is not enforced by law. That is why it would be something which will be called as an agreement. Clear? Till now, one basic part is clear. Why do we write void agreements and not valid contracts, and like why do we not write the word contract in front of void? This will help you a lot in your law school. You will seem intellectual if you say this in your class whenever you start studying for law of contracts. You will seem very intellectual that you know this thing, that why the word agreement is written and not the contract. Understood? Everyone? Is it clear? Fine. Now, to understand what all contracts are void, voidable and valid, we need to understand that what is free consent, right? Because free consent is yet another a very, very prominent feature of the contract to be formed, right? Because free consent is yet again very, very essential to be there in a part of a contract, right? So that is why from free consent only we'll see that how the contract turns into a void, voidability or a valid contract, right? Clear? Why do we need to understand free consent? For a contract to be valid, mere consent is not enough. It must be given freely. What are they saying? That अगर आपको किसी भी contract को valid बनाना है, if you want to make any contract valid, then only consent is not necessary. The word only consent is not necessary. Rather, it should be a free consent. Some of you are telling me to speak in Hindi, some of you are telling me to speak in English. You tell me what to do. किसी भी contract को valid, voidable या void बनाने के लिए you need to see that what kind of consent was there, right? अगर proper free consent था तो it would be a valid contract. If there was a full free consent, it would be a valid contract, right? But if it was certainly influenced by certain things, we'll see in future, that would be something voidable and valid. Void also we are going to see now, right? So firstly understand, what do you understand by the term consent? English? ठीक है, I'll try to speak in English. Consent defined. What do you understand by the term consent? पहले ये बताओ. What do you think? What is consent? Tell me, what do you mean by consent? Approval, okay. Anything else? See, consent is defined as an agreement between two or more persons on the same thing in the same sense. Consensus ad idem. What are they saying is, when two people, let's for say A and B, agree upon the same thing in the same sense, is called as free consent. Let me give you an example. Chalo, A and B, right? A and B, A is the seller, B is the buyer, right? A wants to sell his horse and B wants to buy the horse, right? But now A has two horses. One is a black horse, the other is a white horse, right? And the horse which A wants to sell is the black one, right? He wants to sell the black horse, right? Whereas B wants to buy the white horse, right? B wants to buy the white horse. Do you think that are they agreeing upon the same thing? Are they agreeing upon the same thing? Are they voluntarily agreeing upon the same thing? Tell me. Are they talking about the same thing? Tell me. They are not agreeing upon the same thing because A wants to sell the black horse and B wants to buy the white horse, and that is why it is said that there is no free consent. The consent is not free here. Rajvardhan, how are you saying yes? क्या वो सेम चीज पे अग्री कर रहे हैं? This is a black horse. This is a white horse that he wants to buy. Are they agreeing upon the same thing? No. And that is why it is not said that their consent is mutual here. But the thing is horse, I understand. But the thing, horse in itself, are of two different colors. Understood? Two different colors, black horse and a white horse. Right? So this is not consent. However, sometimes consent is present if it is not given freely. In such cases, the contract becomes voidable. Right? Now, when consent is not free, section 14, consent कब free नहीं होता है? When there is no free consent. This is dealt under section 14. Consent is not considered free if it is obtained through, right? They are telling you that how the consent is not free and under what sections, right? The first is coercion under section 15, undue influence under section 16, fraud under section 17, misrepresentation under section 18, mistake subject to section 20, 21, 22. If consent is caused by any of these factors, अभी मैं पढ़ाऊंगी कौन कौन से फैक्टर्स हैं, ये डिटेल में विल स्टडी एवरीथिंग, ठीक है? अगर इनमें से किसी के भी थ्रू कंसेंट अगर लिया गया है, राइट, एक पाथ पे अग्रीमेंट लिया गया है, तो देन दैट वुड बी नो कंसेंट, दैट वुड नॉट बी अ फ्री कंसेंट. If the agreement is taken through these 5 methods, right? If the consent is obtained by any of the above, the agreement is voidable at the option of the party whose consent was so caused. तो वो क्या बोल रहे हैं? इन 5 cases में the contract is voidable. Voidable. Right? Is it clear till now? Tell me. Is it clear till now? बताओ, is it clear? Fine. Now moving further to first of all coercion. Coercion क्या होता है? Right? Consent is obtained by coercion when essential conditions क्या है coercion की? Right? There is a threat to commit any act forbidden by the Indian Penal Code. Right? What are they saying here is that whenever आपको कोई धमकी दे रहा है, right? When there is a threat that any offense will be committed against you. Any offense will be committed against you, which is prohibited in IPC. If you do not transfer your house to me, I will kill you. That is coercion. Let's for say A and B are two people. A has a house and B wants to buy this house, but A does not want to sell this. Does not want to sell. Right? B says, I will kill you if you don't sell me your house. A says, okay. This consent of saying okay is not obtained freely and it is obtained through coercion. It is obtained through coercion. Right? And whenever any such coercion, or by you can say any such consent is obtained, that would something lead to a voidable contract. Voidable contract का क्या मतलब होता है? The person जिसने जबरदस्ती अपना consent दिया can avoid the contract. That means at a later stage A can refuse to work or fulfill the obligations of this contract. A can refuse to fulfill the conditions of the contract. Tell me, is it clear? The example. Property is unlawfully detained or there is a threat to detain property. Second condition, अगर कोई आपको ये धमकी दे कि वो आपकी प्रॉपर्टी ले लेगा या आपकी प्रॉपर्टी को डिटेन कर लेगा, that is something also called as coercion. Right? The act is to the prejudice of any person. For example, Mr. A on an English ship intimidates B to enter into an agreement by threatening him with the criminal actions, right? Though the act is not an offense under English law, it is coercion under English law, Indian law. What are they saying here? किसी को भी threaten करना and then obtaining their consent is not a free consent, and that is something which is obtained by coercion. Is it clear, everyone? Case law. In Chikham Amiraju versus Chikham Seshamma, a person threatened suicide to force his wife and son to release property to his brother. This was deemed coercion under section 15. एक husband ने अपने wife और अपने बेटे को ये threat किया that that particular husband will commit suicide if that the wife and the son does not release their property to the husband's brother, that was deemed coercion under section 15. Tell me, is it clear? Coercion can come from any person, not just the contracting parties. Threatening to file a suit is not coercion unless the suit is based on false charges. Threats of strikes by employees or lawful detention of mortgage property are not considered coercion. Some points that you need to keep in mind regarding coercion. Right? Undue influence, section 16. Section 16, undue influence. किस किस के पेरेंट्स ने उनको ये कहा है कि अगर 12th में they get 90% and above, so we will give you anything that you want. किसी के पेरेंट्स ने ये कहा है उनको anything you want will give you if you score 90% and above. Tell me. किसी के पेरेंट्स ने कहा है 90% and above will give you everything that you want or anything you want. See, what do you understand by undue influence? A contract is induced by undue influence when one party dominates the will of another and uses the position to gain an unfair advantage. Right? What are they saying? Ki one party, if there are two parties involved in a contract, is influencing the other party. Dominating, like जो हमारे पेरेंट्स करते हैं हमारे साथ, हमारी विल को डोमिनेट करते हैं. दे से दैट विल गिव यू दिस इफ यू वर्क हार्ड. राइट? डोमिनेट करना किसी की विल को, बहलाना फुसलाना. राइट? किसी की विश के अगेंस्ट उससे कोई काम करवाना, दैट इज समथिंग कॉल्ड एज अनड्यू इन्फ्लुएंस. This occur if one party holds real authority or stands in a fiduciary relation to the other. That means, what do you understand by fiduciary relationship? A relationship of trust and love. कोई एक पार्टी आपके साथ एक ऐसी रिलेशनशिप में है जिसका आपके ऊपर ट्रस्ट है, फेथ है. राइट? एंड वो आपकी विशेस को डोमिनेट कर सकती है. राइट? और इफ वन पार्टीज मेंटल कैपेसिटी इज अफेक्टेड ड्यू टू एज, इलनेस और डिस्ट्रेस, दैट इज कॉल्ड एज अनड्यू इन्फ्लुएंस. Can you guys tell me certain relationships जहां पर you think that one party can dominate the will of other? कोई भी ऐसे relationships बताओ. जैसे पेरेंट चाइल्ड का तो होता ही है, और relationships ऐसे कौन से हो सकते हैं जहां पर will dominate होती है? What are those relationships? Tell me. बताओ. Lawyer-client relationship, employer-employee relationship, right? Tuition teacher and student, yes, teacher student. I have mentioned here certain examples of undue influence. See this. A father misuses his parental influence to get a bond from his son, right? Father बोलता है son को that I want you to sign this document and don't ask me the reason because I am your father, right? Just doing, yes, doctor-patient relationship, Avnish, good, right? So that is a undue influence case. A lender forces a debtor to accept unfair loan terms due to their financial situation. Money lender and creditor. Money lender and creditor. Money lender and creditor कौन होते हैं? Let's for say, अगर A है and अगर B है, A wants some money, so he is a creditor जो उधार ले रहा है, right? And B is a money lender जो उधार देगा, lender, right? A इसके पास गया B के पास कि I want some money. B said ठीक है, I'll give you. He is asking for 20% per month interest rate. $20% per month. Do you think that this is feasible? 20% per month. क्या ये feasible है? Just to earn extra profits. Is 20% per month relevant? And just because he is in a position to dominate the will of the creditor, because creditor needs money, do you think that this is not undue influence? Tell me. Yes, this is properly undue influence because he is charging way too much interest rate for just a month when the creditor is in need and he is unduly influencing his powers. Clear? So that is called as undue influence. Understand the difference between coercion and undue influence now, right? What do you understand by coercion and undue influence? This we have seen. But on the face of it, दोनों same लग रहे होंगे, right? Let's understand the difference between the two. What do you understand by coercion? Coercion involves the use of threat of physical force. धमकी देना, right? that any offense will be conducted against the party. Threat is coercion, right? What is undue influence? Involves moral pressure and mental coercion, right? Whenever you are doing what? Whenever you are बहलाना फुसलाना, when you are in a position to dominate the will, that is undue influence, right? Consent is obtained under duress, unfair advantage is obtained in undue influence. Coercion is punishable under IPC, undue influence is not punishable in IPC. It just makes the contract voidable, is not punishable. It is punishable. Can be exercised by anyone. Coercion कोई भी influence कर सकता है, right? Whereas in undue influence must be a party to the contract. Undue influence आपको वही तो कर पाएगा ना जो उस पर्टिकुलर कॉन्ट्रैक्ट में पार्टी होगा, या और वो कॉन्ट्रैक्ट किन के बीच में हो रहा होगा? ऐसी पार्टीज who can dominate the will of each other in a dominance relationship. Right? So it is there that it must be influenced by the party to of a contract. Relationship between parties is irrelevant. One party dominates the other. और इन दोनों ही केसेस में जो आपका कॉन्ट्रैक्ट होता है वो होता है voidable. मतलब जो भी पार्टी अपना कंसेंट फ्रीली नहीं दे रही वो उस कॉन्ट्रैक्ट को अवॉइड कर सकती है. voidable contract. Tell me, is it clear till now? बताओ. Is it clear? Respond, guys. Is it clear till now? The difference between coercion and undue influence? Fine. Now, fraud, section 17. Fraud includes the act intended to deceive. Simple meaning, deceive, that means to cheat. If you are entering into a contract to cheat a particular party, the other party, that is a contract of fraud. Intention to deceive, cheat, right? Now, what all the acts of fraud include? Suggesting a fact knowingly, झूठ बोलना. When you know something very, very clearly and then also you lie, that is fraud. Suggesting a false fact knowingly, right? Actively concealing a fact, किसी बात को छुपाना. आपको कोई बात पता है, आप उसको छुपा रहे हो जो दूसरी पार्टी के लिए जानना जरूरी है. actively concealing a fact, बात छुपाना, right? Making a promise without intending to perform it, right? आप ऐसा promise कर रहे हो कि आप उस contract को perform करोगे, but आपका intention उसको perform करने का है ही नहीं. You don't have the intention to perform it. Then that is also cheating. Any act designed to deceive, कोई भी एक्ट जिससे आप सामने वाले पर्सन को चीट करना चाहते हो, दैट इज फ्रॉड. Is it clear, everyone? Tell me, is it clear? What are the examples of fraud? Selling a horse while hiding its unsoundness. कोई एक ऐसा horse है जो unsound है. The horse is unsound, is not mentally stable, and you know that can cause harm to the other party, and still you are selling it to someone else without revealing the true status of the horse, right? That is fraud, right? Making false promises to obtain property or money. आप कोई ऐसी बात बोल रहे हो जिससे the person transfers the property to you by making any false promises. That is also fraud. Tell me. Tell me, is this clear? Fraud is clear? Moving further to certain important elements related to the essentials of fraud, right? What is that thing which is a very, very important element related to fraud? Right? The essentials of fraud. There must be a false statement, right? There must be a false statement. यानी कि आप झूठ बोल रहे हो. You are lying. You are cheating the other party. Right? क्योंकि अगर आप कोई statement सच बोल रहे हो, right? तो then how can it be fraud? If you are stating true facts, then automatically it is not a fraud. If you are stating true facts, right? So the very essential element of fraud is that should be a false statement. That should be a wrong statement. The second important essential element of fraud is the statement should be made with the intent to deceive and induce the other party into contract. What are they saying? दैट आपका इंटेंशन उस पर्टिकुलर ट्रांजैक्शन में अदर पार्टी को डिसीव करने का या चीट करने का होना चाहिए, एंड यू वांट कि वो दूसरा पार्टी बस आपके साथ कॉन्ट्रैक्ट में एंटर कर ले, सो दैट यू कैन wrongfully या unduly gain something, जिससे आपको कोई गेन हो, wrongful गेन हो आपको, जिससे आपको फायदा हो, आप चाहते हो बस वो पर्टिकुलर पर्सन आपके साथ कॉन्ट्रैक्ट में एंटर कर ले. दैट इज समथिंग व्हेन यू वांट टू चीट द अदर पर्सन with the intention of cheating or deceiving is called the basic essential element of fraud. Is it clear, everyone? Tell me. When silence amounts to fraud, जब आपने कुछ नहीं भी बोला, when will that amount to fraud? When silence, जब आपने कुछ नहीं भी बोला तो वो fraud कब होगा? When that be fraud, right? Understand this. Silence can be fraud when there is a duty to speak due to fiduciary, right? When you had the duty to speak, let's for say horse वाले example में ही, when the other party is asking you that the horse is in sound condition, right? सामने वाला आपसे पूछ रहा है कि हॉर्स साउंड कंडीशन में है ना, एंड यू डिडंट से एनीथिंग, you didn't say anything because you know that the horse is not in a good condition, that would amount to fraud. Right? Silence is equivalent to speech when it leads to other party to assume a fact. यहां पर आप दूसरी पार्टी को assume करने के लिए force कर रहे हो. The other party is assuming that particular fact, that yes, if you did not answer, that means that the horse is in a sound condition, and that is why it will be a fraud because you had a duty to speak. The सामने वाला is aware, the other party is aware of his rights, and due to that awareness, if he asked you a question that whether the horse is in a good condition or not, and you didn't speak, that is something that would be called as fraud if you had the duty to speak up. Is it clear till now? Tell me. Is it clear? Three to 4 hours in a week. Full fun study. Tell me. Is it clear? Fine. Now, misrepresentation, right? Misrepresentation is an innocent false representation that induces a party to enter into a contract, right? False representation that induces a party to enter into a contract. कोई चीज आपको लगता है कि वो सच है, you think that is true, but that is not true, that is false, and then you particularly enter into a contract, and that party enter into a contract. Some statement when you believe it to be true, but that is not true, and you misrepresent that in front of someone. That is called misrepresentation. Assertion of an untrue fact believed to be true. आप ऐसी कोई सिचुएशन है जिसको आप ट्रू मानते हो, राइट, बट वो है एक्चुअल में एक अनट्रू स्टेटमेंट, राइट, दैट इज मिसरिप्रेजेंटेशन. ब्रीच ऑफ ड्यूटी लीडिंग टू एन एडवांटेज बाय मिसलीडिंग अनदर. आपको एडवांटेज हो रहा है किसी को, सामने वाले को मिसलीड करके. यू आर गेटिंग सम advantage. That is what is a misrepresentation. For example, making false claims about the productivity of land. For example, A and B. A is the seller again, B is the buyer, right? A को अपना एक लैंड सेल करना है जिसपे कॉटन प्लांटेशन होता है, एंड जब बी ने पूछा हाउ मच कॉटन प्रोडक्शन इज डन ऑन दिस लैंड एवरी मंथ, लाइक व्हाट इज द प्रोडक्टिविटी, तो इसने बोला 500 टन्स, जबकि द ट्रूथ इज दैट ओनली 450 टन्स ऑफ कॉटन इज प्रोड्यूस्ड ऑन दैट लैंड, राइट? And that is what is called as misrepresentation. उसको लगा कि 500 होता है जबकि होता 450 है, एंड उस 450 ना होने की वजह से 500 होने की वजह से बी एंटर्ड इनटू अ कॉन्ट्रैक्ट. दैट इज मिसरिप्रेजेंटेशन. राइट? Not disclosing changes in business conditions during negotiations. Selling products with undisclosed defects. That is called as misrepresentation. Now here, when we have seen what is fraud and what is misrepresentation, then they might seem same to you, but then there are certain differences that you need to understand between fraud and misrepresentation. Right? So what are the difference between fraud and misrepresentation? फ्रॉड इज इंटेंशनल डिसेप्शन, यानी कि आप जानबूझकर झूठ बोल रहे हो. यू आर चीटिंग द अदर पर्सन इंटेंशनली. Whereas in misrepresentation, you are making innocent misstatement. आपने जानबूझ के झूठ नहीं बोला. You believed the statement to be true. आपको लगता था वो स्टेटमेंट सच है, एंड दैट इज वेयर इट वॉज अ फॉल्स स्टेटमेंट. राइट? बिलीव्स द स्टेटमेंट टू बी फॉल्स, बिलीव्स द स्टेटमेंट टू बी ट्रू. इन फ्रॉड इट इज, आपको पता है कि आप झूठी स्टेटमेंट दे रहे हो, लेकिन मिस रिप्रेजेंटेशन में आपको लगता है कि जो स्टेटमेंट है वो सच्ची है. राइट? राइट टू क्लेम डैमेजेस. फ्रॉड में अगर आपको पता चल जाता है कि आपके साथ फ्रॉड हुआ है तो आप डैमेजेस क्लेम कर सकते हो. राइट? बट इन मिस रिप्रेजेंटेशन आप डैमेजेस क्लेम नहीं कर सकते, क्योंकि जो पर्सन था वो आपको चीट नहीं करना चाहता था, उसने बस गलती से एक गलत स्टेटमेंट आपको पास कर दिया. राइट? Contract voidable even if the truth could be found. Contract not voidable if the truth could be found, right? So in both the cases the contract is voidable, but दो situations हैं, दो situations हैं. अगर ट्रूथ पता लगाया जा सकता था इन केस ऑफ फ्रॉड, क्वेश्चनिंग करके या स्मार्ट आउटराइटली प्ले करके, तो वो वॉइडेबल होगा, यानी कि कॉन्ट्रैक्ट खत्म किया जा सकता है फ्रॉम द अदर पार्टी साइड. लेकिन अगर ट्रूथ पता लगाया जा सकता था इन केस ऑफ मिस रिप्रेजेंटेशन, क्वेश्चनिंग करके, उस केस में कॉन्ट्रैक्ट वॉइडेबल नहीं होगा इन केस ऑफ मिस रिप्रेजेंटेशन. Is it clear, everyone, till now? Tell me. Is it clear? बताओ. Is it clear? Any doubts? Fine. Now, mistake, section 20. Mistake दो तरह की हो सकती है, right? Mistake of law and mistake of fact, right? Mistake का क्या मतलब होता है? गलती, right? Mistake is a wrong, right? Now understand this, mistake of law and mistake of fact. अब देखो, mistake of law भी ना दो तरह का होता है, इंडियन लॉ और फॉरेन लॉ. दैट मीन्स अगर आप एक इंडियन स्टूडेंट हो या अगर आप एक इंडियन हो, ठीक है, एंड अगर आप ये एक्सक्यूज दो कि मुझे तो लॉ ही नहीं पता था, राइट? लेट्स फॉर से इफ यू आर स्मगलिंग गोल्ड, राइट, एंड अगर आप पकड़े जाओ और आप ये बोलो दैट आई डिडंट नो द लॉ, मुझे रूल नहीं पता था, मुझे लॉ नहीं पता था, दैट इज समथिंग नॉट एक्सेप्टेबल, नॉट वॉइडेबल. कॉन्ट्रैक्ट वैलिड होगा एंड आपको पनिशमेंट मिलेगी इन दैट केस. एंड इन दैट केस दैट मीन्स इंडियन लॉ, आप ये नहीं बोल सकते कि आपको रूल नहीं पता था. यू आर बाउंड टू नो द लॉ ऑफ योर ओन कंट्री. आपको लॉ पता होना चाहिए. यू शुड नो द लॉ ऑफ योर कंट्री. अगर फॉरेन लॉ की बात करें, फॉरेन लॉ अगर आपको नहीं पता है, दैट मीन्स द कॉन्ट्रैक्ट इज वॉइड. आपको मिस्टेक ऑफ फैक्ट की तरह उसको ट्रीट किया जाएगा. हाँ ठीक है, अगर आपको किसी और कंट्री का लॉ नहीं पता है तो फिर आप अपनी लायबिलिटी एस्केप कर सकते हो. दैट वुड बी अ वॉइड कॉन्ट्रैक्ट. क्लियर? मिस्टेक ऑफ फैक्ट, बायलैटरल मिस्टेक. अगर दोनों ही पार्टीज ए और बी, ए सेलर है, बी बायर है, ए को हॉर्स सेल करना है, बी को बाय करना है, ठीक है, ए ने और बी ने कॉन्ट्रैक्ट में एंटर किया हॉर्स की बाइंग और सेलिंग का. लेकिन जब ये कॉन्ट्रैक्ट में एंटर कर रहे थे, दोनों को ही नहीं पता था दैट द हॉर्स इज डेड, राइट? दोनों को ही नहीं पता था. दैट वुड बी व्हाट? दैट वुड बी अ वॉइड अग्रीमेंट. वॉइड. दोनों ही पार्टीज को नहीं पता है कि हॉर्स डेड है, राइट? मिस्टेक ऑफ फैक्ट. बताओ, इज दिस क्लियर? बायलैटरल मिस्टेक, जब दोनों ही पार्टीज एक डिलेमा में हो, एक फैक्ट हो कि उनको पता ही नहीं है, दैट वुड बी अ वॉइड कॉन्ट्रैक्ट, राइट? यूनिलैटरल मिस्टेक, अगर एक पार्टी को नहीं पता है दैट देयर इज अ फैक्ट, जो एक पार्टी को नहीं पता है, कॉन्ट्रैक्ट वुड बी वैलिड, कॉन्ट्रैक्ट को एनफोर्स कराना पड़ेगा। अगर सिर्फ एक पार्टी को नहीं पता है कोई फैक्ट, देन द कॉन्ट्रैक्ट वुड बी वैलिड, राइट? इज दिस क्लियर? इज दिस क्लियर? सो मैंने आज आपका वॉइडेबल वाला का पार्ट पूरा कंप्लीट कर दिया. दिस वॉज ऑल अबाउट वॉइडेबल कॉन्ट्रैक्ट, राइट? So in the last few minutes, I just want to address one thing, that if any one of you is planning to start their CLAT preparation, like first of all, just tell me one thing, are you clear with this? Is everyone clear with this? Tell me. Is everyone clear with this? Fine. So if every one of you are clear with this, then iQuanta has already launched its 2026 batch, right? जिसमें आपको ये सारी चीज़ें in depth detail पढ़ाई जाती हैं. This is just a free demo that we are giving so that you can understand what is our method of teaching, right? Everything will be taught to you from scratch. You can visit our website www.iquanta.in/CLAT for all the details that you want to know for the CLAT 2026 batch, right? Apart from that, whatever we give you is something that is highly CLAT relevant, right? The pattern that has been changed for CLAT is now inculcated in our curriculum as well. That means now we provide the material fully on the basis of CLAT passages only, right? And we provide you with 60 plus CLAT mocks which are fully AI analysis based mocks, right? That means आपको analysis में time waste करने की ज़रूरत नहीं है. That is something which will be in front of your screen, right? For all the details you can visit our website, and आपको डिस्क्रिप्शन में भी वो सारे कॉलिंग नंबर्स मिल जाएंगे जहाँ पर आप कॉल करके ये पता कर सकते हो दैट वॉट एवर इज द रिक्वायरमेंट and what is that what we provide in this particular batch, right? So till then, now here I'm signing off and I'll see you in the next class, which is tomorrow, scheduled at 6 p.m. onwards. Yet again, it is yet again a demo, and yes, tomorrow we'll be starting with law of torts, like a topic of law of torts, because in one class the full subject and the full length of that particular subject cannot be covered. So we have started with some bits and topics, right? So tomorrow we'll be starting with law of torts, and day after tomorrow law of crimes, as I mentioned in the beginning of the class. So I'll see you tomorrow till then. And yes, any questions for the 5 minutes, I can address it. Otherwise, I'll see you tomorrow. Any questions? Any questions, anyone? Or should we wrap up the lecture here? Any questions? Any questions, anyone? Fine. I'll see you tomorrow till then, and have a nice day. Tomorrow, same time, 6 o'clock, on the same platform, we'll be starting with Law of Torts. Bye bye, everyone.